Salt is something we use every day without thinking. We add it to our food, we store it in our kitchens, and we see it everywhere in markets. But there was a time in history when salt was not a cheap kitchen item. It was a currency, a luxury, and a symbol of power. There was a day when salt became more valuable than gold, and entire kingdoms fought to control it. This story takes us back thousands of years, when something as simple as a handful of white crystals could decide the rise and fall of empires. Today, in this video, we explore why salt became the world's most valuable currency, how it shaped wars, how it built trade routes, and how it changed human civilization forever. If you love learning about forgotten finance, hidden history, and economic stories that shaped the world, stay with me till the end. And if you enjoy this video, please like, share, and subscribe to Retro Finance Files for more powerful stories from history. Salt became valuable because it was essential for survival. In ancient times, there was no refrigerator, no modern storage, and no easy way to keep food fresh. Salt was the only method to preserve meat, fish, and vegetables. Without salt, armies could not march, travelers could not move long distances, and cities could not store food for bad seasons. Salt was not just a seasoning, it was life. Civilizations like Egypt, China, Rome, and India needed salt to survive. The Egyptians used salt for preserving mummies. The Chinese began producing salt as early as 6000 BC in ancient Africa. People traded salt for gold. Weight for weight, a slab of salt could buy a healthy slave, a camel, or even a small piece of land. People risked their lives crossing deserts just to bring salt to the cities. Salt became so important that rulers treated it like money. One of the most powerful examples comes from the Roman Empire. The Romans built roads across Europe, and many of those roads were made for transporting salt. Roman soldiers were sometimes paid in salt rations. This is where the English word salary comes from. Sal means salt in Latin. A man who worked hard and did his duty was said to be worth his salt. Salt became a symbol of loyalty, discipline, and reward. The Romans had salt tax systems, salt distribution laws, and salt control centers. Whoever controlled salt controlled Rome. And when Rome controlled salt trade routes, its economy grew stronger than any empire of that time. The story becomes even more dramatic in Africa. In the Sahara Desert, salt was more valuable than gold. Salt mines in places like Tagaza were the bank vaults of the ancient world. Workers in the mines carved salt blocks with their bare hands. These workers did not even use salt for food. They were paid in food and left the salt for trade. Salt caravans carried the blocks on camels across thousands of kilometers. Traders risked storms, robbery, and death. But the profits were huge. In West Africa, one block of salt could buy 12 blocks of gold during some periods. This made powerful African empires like Mali and Ghana rich beyond imagination. When the great Emperor Mansa Musa traveled to Mecca, he carried gold, but he also carried salt because he knew its value in the markets. Salt was not only a currency, it was also a diplomatic tool. In China, the story takes another turn. Chinese emperors discovered that controlling salt meant controlling the people. As early as 300 BC, China created one of the earliest government monopolies in history. Only the state was allowed to produce and sell salt. This monopoly funded armies, expanded territories, and supported the imperial court. Salt taxes became a major revenue source, and anyone who tried to produce salt secretly was punished. Salt even caused uprisings. The famous Salt Rebellion happened because people were angry at high salt taxes. This shows how something so simple could influence national politics and even spark revolutions. China understood that salt was not just food, it was financial power. India also has a powerful history with salt. For thousands of years, Indian kingdoms collected salt revenue. Salt trade routes connected villages, ports, and cities. But the most famous moment came during British rule. The British created a harsh salt tax. They banned Indians from making their own salt, even though India had a long coastline. Every person, rich or poor, had to buy British-controlled salt. This injustice led to one of the most iconic protests in world history. Gandhi's Salt March in 1930, Gandhi walked 240 miles to make a point. When he picked up natural salt from the seashore, he broke the British monopoly. This simple act shook the empire. Newspapers around the world reported it. Millions joined the movement. Salt became a symbol of freedom and economic resistance. This shows that salt was not just currency in the past, it was also a weapon against oppression. In medieval Europe, salt created entire cities. Places like Venice became powerful because they dominated salt trade. Venice made treaties with salt producers, controlled supply routes, and built a naval empire funded by salt revenue. Salt shaped European cuisine. It shaped their wars. It shaped their governments. When salt was scarce, famine followed. When salt was abundant, economies grew. Even the Vikings used salt to preserve fish, which they traded across northern Europe. This helped them build wealth and expand their influence. Salt was quiet, but powerful. It shaped the destiny of many nations. But one of the most dramatic stories in history is when salt became more valuable than gold. This happened in multiple places across time. In Africa, salt-gold exchange made salt precious. In Europe, when winter storms damaged salt pans, salt prices jumped higher than metal prices. During sieges and medieval wars, armies blocked salt supplies. People starved without salt. Food spoiled without salt. Salt became priceless. In China, certain regions had no natural salt, so people paid huge prices to buy it. Some families kept salt as wealth. Some used salt as inheritance. In parts of ancient Ethiopia, salt slabs were used as official currency. This was not symbolic. People literally carried salt in their wallets. Salt was money. Salt even entered religion and culture. In many societies, sharing salt with a guest meant trust. Breaking salt agreements meant betrayal. Salt protected food, protected wealth, and protected life. It was pure, white, and powerful. It connected cities, continents, and oceans. It pushed humans to invent roads, ships, taxes, trade systems, and administration. It forced people to cooperate and compete. Salt is quiet in our kitchens today, but in history it was loud in politics and finance. It shaped how humanity survived and how societies grew. Salt brought empires power. It also brought them conflict. Today, salt is cheap because of technology. We can produce it in large quantities from seawater and mines. Refrigeration replaced salt in food preservation. Countries no longer fight for salt mines. We buy salt in grocery stores for a few coins. But history reminds us that the value of something depends on necessity. Salt was not precious because it was rare. It was precious because it was essential. When something is essential for survival, it becomes a currency, a weapon, and a source of control. Understanding this also helps us understand modern finance. Money changes, value changes, but necessity stays constant. The story of salt is a lesson in how economics shapes human destiny. It teaches us that simple things can change the world. Thank you for watching this journey through the financial history of salt. If you found this video interesting, please like, share, and subscribe to Retro Finance Files. Your support helps us bring more hidden financial stories to life. Tell us in the comments which forgotten item or ancient currency you want us to explore next. Stay curious, stay informed, and see you in the next video.